Come on, Rashford!
After that performance, come on, guys.
Come on!
Let's do something now.
Fucking bellend. Fucking bellend.
Marcus Rashford got into an altercation with a number of Manchester United fans outside of Old Trafford after the humiliating defeat to Atletico Madrid and the exit from the Champions League. Rashford's form has been off for over 12 months at Manchester United. The performance is not where we want to see them. Rashford not performing at the standard that we want to see as Manchester United fans. But it appears that the situation has come to boiling point, with Marcus Rashford looking initially like he wanted to square up to these Manchester United fans and appearing to point his middle finger, essentially saying fuck you to the criticism and the abuse he felt he was getting outside of the stadium. Now, this is a story of two things for me. The difference between criticism and abuse. The problem is when you receive too much abuse, is that even as a professional person, as an educated person, wherever your background may be, no matter how high up the pecking order people think you should be in terms of your behavior, your morality, your integrity, the lines can become blurred. You can become fatigued. And that's exactly what we saw from Marcus Rashford. Now, let me start this by saying Rashford's form deserves criticism. Rashford's performances deserve to be absolutely, categorically ripped apart by Man United fans. Shocking performances. The way he is playing for Man United doesn't warrant, in my opinion, a place on the bench. If he was not in the Man United squad, I would not be defending him. Does not deserve it. So I've said that already, and park that for a moment. That doesn't mean he deserves abuse. Over 32,000 times per year, Marcus Rashford receives abusive tweets and messages. The most abused football player in the world, the second most abused athlete. Now, let me detail what this data tells us. There isn't people saying you deserve to be dropped. There isn't people saying, Rashford, you're playing terribly. Rashford, I want you out my club. Rashford out. That isn't abuse. That isn't equated as abuse. It isn't seen as abuse. It's when he's being referred to as a pejorative words being used. Excessive swearing. His family being spoken about. As examples, you are a beep, beep, beep. You absolute beep, beep, beep. You are a blah, blah, blah. Beep, beep, beep. Your mum's this, beep. That's an abusive message. Wishing illness upon him, wishing injury upon him. These all accumulate as abusive messages. Now, to put this into context, Cristiano Ronaldo is the second most abused football player in the world, with around 11,000 per year. Paul Pogba, the third most, on around 7,000. By the way, one abusive message is too much. 7,000, 11,000, 32,000. The top three most abused football players in the world all play for Man United. The level of scrutiny our players get compared to other players at other clubs is night and day. That is the size and the attention that Manchester United get. Everything is magnified. As I've said, I'll go back to it again. Marcus Rashford very much deserves to be criticised. He deserves to not be in this starting lineup. You're allowed to think he isn't a good enough football player. But we all know what's really going on here. The biggest issue I find is what I call the abuse Olympics. I don't think Rashford gets enough criticism from BT Sports. Therefore, I'm going to double down and give him the highest level of abuse I can possible to create this weird equilibrium in our minds. I think Pogba gets more abuse than Rashford. Therefore, I'm going to abuse Rashford to even up the score. That's the mindset of people. And we see this all the time. We see it down to small things like refereeing decisions. Or we had a bad decision go against us. Rather than want the right decisions to happen in football, I'm wishing a bad decision upon my rivals. We encourage bad refereeing decisions. It makes us feel better. Pogba got abused. The only way I can feel better is if Maguire or Rashford gets abused as well, as opposed to I want nobody being abused, which is what most normal human beings would think. The fact is, the lines are so blurred with a lot of fans now. You say don't abuse Rashford, and they say, why can't I criticize him? That's the response. Just literally put it into Twitter and see what you get back. Stop abusing Rashford. I'm allowed to criticize my players. People even respond to an abuse tweet by saying, I'm allowed to criticize. They literally marry these things up now, people. I don't see the issue. It's an abomination. It's an absolute abomination. Rashford snapped because he's had enough. That doesn't make his behavior right. It doesn't mean it's okay to swear at the fans. It doesn't mean that it's okay for him to try and square up. It doesn't, his abuse doesn't mean it's, he should start for Man United because he's getting abused. We've got to leave him alone. No. Man United should wait for nobody. But that doesn't mean you can't defend him against the abuse. I listened to United fans this morning say to me, yeah, Terry, but it's just the way the world is now. Rashford's got to learn that there's abuse in the world. He's a role model. We have to just learn to accept it. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't have to learn to accept it. We can all push back against it. And if it is part and parcel of the world, then we have to give Rashford and all football players the excuse of being human beings. At some point, a human being is going to snap. And the crazy thing about it is this. In the one hand, we want to hold Rashford up as this role model who has to act in such a perfect way for all the children and all the impressionable people in the world that he can be a beacon to. But then we're very happy to sit there and watch him be abused and go, this is part and parcel of it, mate. So the person that you're literally holding up to be one of the key role models in your children's life is the same person you're happy to watch be abused. And you kind of half defend it by saying, oh, it's the nature of the beast. Abuse isn't part of the process of being a football player. It should be widely condemned. Whether you don't like Rashford as a football player or not is irrelevant. We're talking about the person. We saw a great example of this at Arsenal when Granit Xhaka was lambasted for swearing at the fans. Oh my God, how dare he do that? Some Arsenal fans were wishing cancer upon his wife. Wishing cancer upon someone's wife is a far greater problem than a footballer sticking a finger up. Oh, my feelings. Fans love to give it and can't take it back. Man United fans have got a history of this. When Marouane Fellaini signed his new deal in 2018, people wished illness upon him, cancer upon him, and that they wished that his legs get broken training. Very few people stood up against this. Go check all the big Man United accounts and see how many did videos condemning it. Go back and check how many people tweeted about it condemning it. Go back and check. 0 to none. Niente. Almost nothing. Maybe a footnote in another video. Oh, guys, don't abuse him. Nobody wants to make a beeline for this. Nobody wants to stand up against it. Oh, don't want to ruin my base. You know, most of my viewers don't like this player. And if I'm seen to be defending him, I might lose viewers. Weak people. I'll say it again. Rashford deserves to be dropped. He doesn't deserve to be abused. And for me, what I saw from a lot of people yesterday was fake outrage. Yes, Rashford's done something wrong. We've been waiting. Been waiting for months. Been waiting for years for Rashford to do something outside of poor performances in football so I can get him. How dare you, Rashford? You should be kicked out the club, never play again. I knew he was a bad human being. Fake. Fake outrage and looking to drag him through the mud. That's all this was yesterday. He's a human being, not a robot. He's going to react like this to the volume of abuse. Like I've said, he gets 3 times the abuse online to the second most abused football player in the world. And it's taken its toll on him. What does Rashford need to do? Listen, I think he should take some time away from social media. I think he needs to take some time away from being publicly involved in the activism work that he's doing, because for some weird reason, that's triggered people. There are Man United fans that hate him for doing that because they feel like that's what's keeping him in the Man United team. And if it is what's keeping him in the Man United team, focus on the Glazers that are using that PR element to sell more shirts and make more money. By the way, these same Man United fans buy tickets and buy shirts. It's so weird and warped. The abuse of football players has got to stop. We as football fans can do something about it. You can push back. You can unfollow people. You can do all sorts of things that stop the abuse from happening, or at the very least call it out. You can defend Marcus Rashford from abuse and say it's wrong and has to stop, and not support the fact that he has to be in the starting lineup of your team. These two things can coexist at exactly the same time. They really, really can. And the thing is, I see accounts like this. Since our season is over, this account will be purely used for directing abuse at Maguire and Rashford. Look at the likes. There's only 300 people have liked it. Look at the responses from people. I'll be happy to chime in from here. Look at it. Go through it. There's a guy here, Matt, picture of him and his daughter, looking happy, applauding it. Applauding the fact that he's going to abuse Marcus Rashford and Maguire on a daily basis. It's being celebrated. Who's calling it out? Nobody. Sit there in silence, and then when Rashford snaps and does something wrong, that's where the outrage needs to go to the abuse in the first place. If you kick a bee's nest, you will get stung. The outrage at being stung after you've kicked it and wound the bee's nest up is a madness to me. And I'll end on this. Marcus Rashford does not deserve to be in this Man United team. His footballing performances are always open to criticism. But anybody that confuses abuse and criticism, you're wrong. And you have got a major problem. And I'm going to be really blunt and direct. Educate yourself. Start reading a book. And if you don't know the difference between criticism and abuse, I say keep your mouth shut. I say stop tweeting. I say stop talking about football if you can't differentiate between the two things. And I'll give you an example. I believe that Marcus Rashford has leaked information out of the club he shouldn't. When there was big scrutiny about Man United players not working hard enough in training, not wanting to train at night, not listening to Ralph's instructions, he and his team very conveniently released information about how hard he was working and the extra work he is doing and how he's not part of that clique. I think that's wrong and undermining to the team. I think it creates a divide and it's wrong. And he should be called out for that. And I did. I don't like that Rashford or someone from his team went to Fabrizio Romano about wanting to leave the club if he doesn't get back into the starting lineup. But I'm still acting professional, but I might have to leave. I criticised him for that. It was wrong. Didn't call him names. Didn't swear about him. Didn't call him a pejorative. Didn't attack his charity work. Didn't speak of his family or his brother. I didn't abuse him. So I know what some of you are going to respond with. But Terry, you called Rashford out. You can call people out without abusing them. If you don't know the difference, you're failing as a human being. You are subhuman if you think criticism, critique, and abuse sit in the same spectrum. They're not just different pages. They're completely different books in different languages, in different genres. They are nowhere near related to each other. But what's happened through social media is they've been intertwined with one another. And it has to stop. Smash that like and share button. Leave us your comments below, and we'll see you soon.